right, if I can have everyone's attention, we'll get started with our media availability here at Kansas Speedway. We welcome Jamie McMurray, driver of the number 1 Cessna Chevrolet, currently 14th in points. But Jamie, this is kind of like a home track for you here at Kansas Speedway. You've been the top finishing non-chase driver the past 2 races, 5th at New Hampshire and 11th at Dover. Talk a little bit about being here at Kansas this weekend.
Yeah, it's always fun to come back to this part of the country. My mom and dad actually flew out here with me this weekend. My mom's been down in Joplin with some of her friends. My dad has been. We actually went fishing over at Bass Pro Shops farm in Calhoun, Missouri, the last couple of days, and then I think he's off to maybe the go-kart races today in Topeka. So it's been a really fun weekend so far, and it's certainly nice to have my family with me.
Okay, we'll open up for questions for Jamie. Please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. As always, state your name and affiliation. We'll start with Stan, then go to Kenny.
Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com. Jamie, based on the test yesterday, does the car feel better to you, or the tires talking better to you? What's your overall look for the rest of the week?
Well, I did the tire test at Atlanta, which used the multi-compound tire. I did the tire test at Phoenix, same thing. And then obviously yesterday, you know, the balance of the car is a little bit tighter, seems to have a little bit less grip with this tire. I think the one thing that we've noticed is that camber doesn't seem to be as sensitive. And I say that in that most of the time when we come to these fast tracks, the more camber you can run, the faster you can go. At the same time, the more you run, the bigger of a threat you have of blowing a tire out. So there's a fine line of how much you want to run versus the speed versus the risk. This tire doesn't seem to be as sensitive. We did fairly large sweeps yesterday and didn't see a big speed difference from having a lot of camber and we were doing large adjustments. So I think that's good in that it's a safer tire than what we've had in the past. And I think when you put that responsibility in the team's hands of more camber will go quicker, that's what we're all going to do. And you try to figure out a way of cooling the tire better or making it live. You try to do something. So I think that's good. I think that's probably the future of our sport is to have this. Just all around, I don't see any issue with it. It's a little bit slower, but it's the same for everybody.
We'll take our next question from Kenny. Go ahead.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Jamie, you always seem to be one of the more competitive drivers, not in the chase each year. And this year it looks that way again. Do you have any reason that your team or you yourself have been able, because you've won chase races when you've not been in it. You've had good finishes this year and other years. Is there any reason to that, do you think?
No, I don't know. I just give the same effort every week, and I don't know if there's some guys that get deflated when they don't make the chase, and it seems like, and maybe some of those teams start trying other off the wall ideas because they're not in the chase. When I look at this year for most of the teams, there's really not anything to gain by doing stuff off the wall because the rules are going to change so much next year with the ground zero car and not having the ride height rules afterwards that I don't really see a big advantage in experimenting, because until we get to test that car in the off season and we find out exactly what the rules are, I think for the rest of the year you just do what works best. But I can't give you a reason. It sure does seem odd that we've been a really good car not in the chase.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Nate right here. Go ahead.
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. Jamie, you're in probably your best stretch of the season, so I'm sure that's good coming back to your hometown track, but is it also good maybe because with Juan Pablo leaving and things kind of being a little bit different going in next year and Kyle Larson coming as a rookie teammate? I would think you're going to be looked more to as like the leadership role next year. It seems like you're having success that sort of justifies that role.
Well, racing goes in streaks, and it seems like you get on a streak and everything you do works, and then you get to have the opposite as well, where the stuff that's always worked in the past doesn't. Right now we just have had a few really good races, and our cars have been good. I feel like our mile-and-a-half program has been good, so I expect to run well this weekend. As far as Kyle coming in and Juan leaving, I really haven't paid a lot of attention to that, because until Juan's out of that car and you start working with Kyle every week, it's not any different right now for us. Kyle did a test at Charlotte. I think he had a really good test there. But like I said earlier about the setup stuff, what we're learning right now, I don't think is going to apply to next year as much as it would if the rules were staying the same. So, yeah, it just kind of is what it is. I think it'll be different for, for our whole organization next year. I think the meetings will be different. I think we're going to have more meetings with the teams and the drivers, and they're structuring that right now, trying to get everything set up and get a little more organized for next season. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Kyle is a really easy guy to get along with. He's a good person. He's been racing for a long time, and racing's all he wants to do. And I think he'll be a really good listener. I'm not one to push my opinion over, but if he's to ask my opinion, I'll be very honest with him. And like I said, when they announced Kyle was going to be my teammate, I think there'll be a little bit that I can help him with on the track. Maybe going to tracks he's never been to, Martinsville, Pocono, some of those places. Explain how restarts work, or just little nuances that happen at each track. But I think my role with Kyle is going to be much larger off the track, with sponsor commitments, coming into more money. A lot of things that I don't know that we pay attention to when someone gets a Cup ride versus being in the trucks or the Nationwide.
Additional questions? Okay, in the back, Lee.
You feeling any better?
I do feel a little bit better, yes.
How beneficial will it be to actually have a teammate who lives in town that, you talked about the restructuring, but, in some degrees you only see Juan on the weekends. How big will it be to have somebody there on a regular basis? And also, where do you really see the gains? You guys have picked up speed, it seems, in the second half. Where is that coming from?
Well, having Kyle in the Charlotte area is going to be beneficial. At the same time, Juan and I don't really have a relationship away from the racetrack, and I don't know that that's that important. But the fact that Kyle and I are both into karting and can go out and do that maybe is just just hanging out and goofing off. We're definitely at different stages in our life, where I'm married with kids and he has neither. So that is a big difference in our life. But when you have a common hobby, something that you can go do together and hang out and maybe become a little better friends along with teammates, I think that's going to be good. Him being in Charlotte is going to be much more beneficial to the team than what it will be to me. Just the team morale, getting to go into the shop and see the guys. It's hard for Juan because he lives so far away, and normally when he would come to the shop, it's for a reason, and you don't always have time to hang out and just kind of goof off, right? Normally when you're there, it's because you have a photo shoot or because they needed him for something. So that's a little bit tough with Juan living so far away. But Kyle he's one of those guys I think that'll be at the shop a lot. I think that'll be kind of his hangout throughout the day. Yep. Yeah, the speed in the cars, our cars, and I said it earlier in the year, I feel like our cars are actually better now than they were in 2010. We haven't won the races that we did in 2010. But the cars have been really good, and a lot of the speed has just come from making good decisions in the race and getting ourselves in a better position. The 42's been in a position to win a few races. I feel like we certainly in Kentucky were in a position to win a race. So I don't know that we really have more speed. I think we're just doing a better job at finishing maybe where the cars should.
Additional questions for Jamie? Final questions for Jamie? All right, we'll take one in the back. Hang on, Jamie, real quick. One final
Sorry.
question. That's okay.
Yeah, Jamie, Kirk Elliott, Racing Boys, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Kind of go back your memories of racing. You raced out here at the old I-70 Speedway years ago, I-44 Speedway. How special is it to come back here to Kansas Speedway after, growing up around here racing?
Well, I just really enjoy coming back to this part of the country. My dad, I talked to him last night, and I asked him what he did yesterday, and he went and saw a couple of our old friends that we raced with at I-70 and Lakeside. Not necessarily guys that raced, but guys that worked on the cars and had race shops here. And so it was really cool to hear him tell me kind of what they're talking about, what they're doing now. And, just being back here, I've got a lot of really good memories of this part of the country. And, Charlotte is my home now, even though I was raised just south of here. So Charlotte's my home, but I really enjoy coming back here and running into to people that I haven't seen in a long time.
Okay, final follow-up. Kenny, go ahead.
You mentioned changes for next year with the rules and everything. Is there anything in particular you would like to see?
Well, I like the idea of the ground zero car. I think it's going to be easier to get the car to the attitude that you want without, and Darby kind of mentioned this, without having to put a trick spring in the car. It's going to be simpler for the teams. And I'm actually part of the test that they're gonna put they have a couple of wickers that they're gonna put on the car, and they have a much larger spoiler that they're gonna try. So I haven't seen everything, but until you go try the stuff on the track, it's hard to give your opinion, because as a driver we all have ideas, but 99% of them aren't any good. They're just our opinion. So after the test, I would probably have a much better idea of what I think they should implement. And what would make the racing better. I don't really think the racing is that bad right now. Certainly track position is key. It has always been important. And when you watch any form of racing on TV, whether it's open wheel or stock cars, anything, even motorcycle racing on the Supercross, like if the guy gets a good start, it's hard to catch him. Track position is always going to be important. So I don't think they're ever going to get any type of a race car that to be in the back is going to benefit you. But I like the idea that they're trying, and they're trying some, I would say, off-the-wall ideas, stuff that you would think would never happen in NASCAR. So it'll be interesting after that test to see how that works out and try all the ideas that they have.
Jamie, thank you very much for your time, and good luck on another competitive weekend here.